Hey guys, so in this video I will be creating a PRD generator. So a product requirements document is essentially a features document. This is somewhat technical and that you as a freelancer can demand from your client when they ask you to build a project. This document will contain all the information regarding the project overview, the core features, the tech stack, and other useful information. So for this specific tool, we will be using Supabase, OpenAI, and Stripe. And the reason why I chose this specific tool is to hopefully allow you to create your own PRD and generator and then offer it to your clients as a service. And hopefully you can recreate this tool yourself and possibly even monetize it, which I think would be great. Okay, so I'm using OpenAI to create a prompt that I will then feed into Lovable. So let me just go ahead and it says really just as simple as this. Please provide a prompt that I can then feed into lovable.dev to then create a PRD product requirements document generator. Obviously, you can be as specific as you want with this prompt. For example, I would like the PRD generator to have a chat feature that allows me or the user to provide feedback to OpenAI to then update the PRD that has been generated. So for example, if there's a section, for example, that I want to add, such as the tech stack, but that's not included in the PRD that was generated, or if one section does not satisfy me, I can always use this chat feature to go back and optimize the generated PRD. So let's add um, make sure to include a chat feature that uses OpenAI that will be used to get the existing PRD that is initially generated to then further optimize it through this chat feature. And then again, you do not have to mention every single specific detail for the initial prompt because obviously we're going to use Lovable later to optimize this app even further. So let's just see what it returns now. Okay, so it has mentioned the core features, product name, target audience, business goals. I'm not really too interested about target audience and business goals. Um, I want it to be essentially a PRD generator for people like essentially vibe coders that use Lovable and Bolt. So I can niche it down to those two specific tools. And I find it's always best to have niche products. So for me, I really like to keep things simple. I really value simplicity. And so I'm just going to say, please only have core features and remove the nice to haves, which are essentially, just features that are nice to haves, but they're not necessary. So let's just go ahead and remove them from the prompts. Okay, let's just go ahead and copy and paste our lovable prompt. And yep, let's click enter. Okay, so you can see that it has created our PRD generator. So let's just connect it instantly to Supabase. That way, if we're creating tables or doing anything in the back end, we've got it already set up. And yep, let's just go ahead and do that now. So I will need to create a new project. Project name, PRD generator, and let's see if we can auto-generate a password. I just save that. Region would be UK. Okay, perfect. So what I'd like to do next is essentially remove this image here and replace it with a header. Remove the PRD generator section at the top of the landing page and replace it with a header that will link to user accounts. Essentially, later we're going to have users sign up, log in, and use the app. And the idea is that after 3 free trials, we introduce a paywall that will redirect the user to Stripe if they decide that they want to continue using the app. And then it would just be a very small monthly fee. Okay, this looks fine. There is one additional thing I wanted to mention, which is Lovable's knowledge base. So I can see here that it's adding a lot of things that are somewhat unnecessary. Yes, they're useful. However, in this scenario, we just want to keep it very minimalistic and just really limit the complexity. Yes, essentially the knowledge base will be used for providing further context to your existing prompts here. So it might be that you want it to be very mobile responsive. So what you can do is the app needs to be mobile responsive. So this means that every time you prompt the agent, it will consider this and it will try its best to make it mobile responsive. Whatever requirement you put, it will consider. So we don't need that for now, but yeah, just wanted to show that to you guys. It's a cool little trick, and it can be useful. Um, so let's just go back to our PRD generator. It's not exactly what I want. I'd rather just have a chat feature like OpenAI, keep it very simple. Now, initially, when the user goes to the landing page, I just want to display a chat feature, or not even a chat feature, just a text box with the writing I want to create and make it obvious they have to insert the app name at the end of the double quotes. Then once they finish this sentence and click enter or click generate PRD, it will then display the other relevant sections such as the PRD generated and the AI assistant, chat assistant feature that will be used to further refine. And you can see that there's a lot of typos in there, but it doesn't matter. Refine, because it is able to understand what I write. So to further refine the generated PRD, And let's just do something else whilst this is getting completed, which is I'd rather have a different name for this and not PRD generator, because essentially if you're going to give this tool to your clients, it's highly unlikely they know what a PRD document is. So let's just try to make it more friendly to users and people that are not technical. So let's just come up with a more friendly term. We can just ask ChatGPT for this. I'm creating a PRD generator. However, I do not like using the term PRD generator as it may be, as some people might not be familiar with what it means. So yeah, let's see what it comes up. And then you can just say, um, give me at least 10 different name ideas. Let's just call it Project Requirements Maker. I feel like that's a term that everybody is somewhat familiar with. Okay, rebrand the app to Project Requirements Maker to appeal to a larger audience. However, the user must know also that it is a PRD document that is being generated. Because essentially that is ultimately what we're going to be generating. So we do want to inform them that it is a product requirements document that is being generated. So I'm also not a big fan of the UI here, and this just looks not, a lot of it just looks misplaced. Um, so let me go ahead and check the preview URL. Yeah, that looks terrible. Um, so what I'm going to do for my next prompt is just take a screenshot and say, oops, and drag and drop it into the chat feature and just say, I do not like the look of this section. Please make it more user friendly and professional, and remove the double quotes. I also think it would help to possibly provide an example sentence down here, just so they get the right idea. And in addition, include an example sentence below the I want to create a just so users get the right idea. So it's all about really just simplifying things for your users and just making it very easy and intuitive for them to use the app. And again, I'm not an expert in user experience, however, and I try to take a stance of, well, what would I like to use? Would I like to answer 10 questions prior to using an app? Ideally not. If I could just go directly into the app and use it straight off the bat, and I get an idea straight away if this is going to be an app that's useful for me or not. That is what I appreciate more. Yeah, so this is okay. It's not perfect, but it does the job. There's a clear indication here of what you can do by inserting your app idea in here. So it might be that the user might just say, okay, I want to create a PRD for a calendar app that I have. So now that we have some of the, well, the initial landing page built, the next step would be to actually integrate to OpenAI and get it to start generating these PRD documents. So I'll go ahead and get my OpenAI API key. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and create a new key. We'll just call it PRD. That's fine. Now let's see if Lovable allows me to provide a key via the chat interface. Now I'm going to insert the key directly into Supabase's secrets feature, which is in here under edge functions. Now they do have a strict naming policy. So if it's an OpenAI API key you're using, just make sure you insert the right key name. And if you're using another service such as Resend, you can always ask the agent here, what is the key name if I were to use a Resend API key and insert it into Supabase? So we know that this is the right key name for OpenAI, and then we'll just go ahead and copy and paste that secret that we copied from OpenAI here. We'll paste it into here, and then just save that. So now our secret is saved here at the bottom. And we can always, if you want to update that later, you can always just reuse the same name, key name here, and copy in a new value here, and that will then update that record down here. So now that we have our OpenAI API key there, we can just say, I have provided my OpenAI API key in Supabase secrets. The next step would be when the user clicks on the generate project requirements button, the PRD document is generated and displayed in a nice and user-friendly format on the same page. Actually, let's not do on the same page. On a new page, sorry, you can't see this. We'll do it on a completely new page and include the new chat AI feature to interact with the newly generated PRD. And again, you can see here I'm trying to provide as much context as I can so then it truly understands what is it I'm trying to achieve. The more specific and the more information and context you provide, the better the agent will be able to perform. Now, and one last thing is that in the PRD that is generated, I want it initially to always have these key sections that I think are the key sections for a PRD. So initially it would always generate these, and then later, if you want, you can add or remove these sections through the Chat AI assistant feature. So let's just go ahead and mention that. So for the first generation of the PRD, it must only include these sections. You will need to specify this in the OpenAI prompt. Okay, let's just go ahead and try this out. And let's just create a PRD for a calendar app. So let's just type in here, calendar. Click enter, and oh, it looks like it's failing to generate our PRD. So we can always go in Supabase into the backend and check the logs here and into the API gateway. So there's nothing useful here. So let's check in our edge functions. It would need to create a new edge function to interact with OpenAI. So let's just, and that doesn't seem to exist. So there is not an edge function being called that exists to interact with OpenAI via the OpenAI API key provided to then generate the PRD. Okay, so it has created the edge function, so let's just go back and let's try again. Calendar. Okay, so it's still failing. Has it created the edge function? Nope. Looks like we forgot to connect our project, ironically. Okay, so that's fine. Obviously the edge function does not exist. So let's just ask again to do this. Create our edge function to connect with the OpenAI API, and then to feed it that prompt to then generate a PRD. Okay, so the edge functions have been created. So the generate PRD is the first request we send when we type in the app name, and then the refine PRD will be our chat feature that is used to refine the generated PRD that's given by the output of this prompt. So let's go ahead and finally test it. Ideally, there should be some loading icon. So for some reason, it's still not calling the OpenAI API. So I just ask it to investigate this issue. So the edge function is not deployed, which is odd because it does look like it has been deployed. There is code in here, and this is a prompt that will be used to create the PRD. Let's just look at the API logs a quick second. There's no errors here. And it looks like the generate PRD edge function in Supabase is not being called to then generate the PRD via OpenAI and displaying it on our app. Okay, let's try again and see what happens. It seems as if it's generating our PRD. Now, let's just wait and see. So it's generated our PRD document, our requirements document. However, you can see here there's a lot of asterisks, and just overall it's slightly messy. So I'm going to clean it up. So I'll just type in update the generate PRD edge function so that the output generated by OpenAI does not include this symbol, hash, and asterisks symbols as seen here. And then just give it some example text. Additionally, please divide the sections even further, possibly having the section name as one heading, clear heading. Let's see what it comes up with. So let's try it again. And we can see that now it's slightly clearer. However, I still do want to have these sections as almost as a separate thing. So for the generated PRD, I want each section to be its own text box almost. Therefore, it is very clear that to the user, therefore, the sections become even more clearer to the user. Okay, this is a lot better. It's very clear what the different sections are. let's see how this looks like in our preview URL. And ideally, when we do generate a PRD document here and click on the generate project requirements, ideally there should be a loading button just in front of the user that it's currently generating the document, as opposed to keep them guessing. That's just a slight little tweak that we can do to improve the user experience. Okay, let's do our calendar PRD again, and let's see what happens. Well, I guess it's just redirected us straight to this page. Okay, so let's check again and refresh the page and see if it has some kind of loading. Oh yeah, there it is. So that looks fine. And it shouldn't take too long to then create our requirements document. There we go. So the next step would be to, and again, you can really just customize it as much as you want. For example, you can have a regenerate feature if you're not satisfied with this. So you can just click on regenerate and it will um, regenerate the entire document. Yeah, so you can see the AI assistant, the input is all at the bottom, so I'll just specify that the um, AI assistant um, chat feature input is at the bottom of the page. It needs to be at the top, and if multiple messages are saved and loaded in the chat feature, then add scrolling. Okay, let's test the AI assistant feature. Let's actually try to modify and update an existing section. For example, the overview, update the overview section to add more information. Additionally, I'd like to add another section called, let's just say, user feedback. So as you can see, it has added more information. However, it's still introducing those unwanted symbols such as asterisks and hashes, which is mainly just a case of doing some smart prompt engineering in our prompt to avoid this. However, we can just avoid that for now. Now let's see if it's added our new section. Nope. Let's try this. The section, the user feedback section needs to be a new section, just like overview and core features. Therefore, you must generate content for that specific section. Now, I don't think this is going to be able to do what I've requested, so I'm going to have to modify, I'm going to have to feed a prompt in here to then be able to add sections here for PRD through the AI assistant. No, as I thought. The AI assistant, when I ask it to add a completely new section like all pages, navigation, hierarchy, or tech stack, is not capable of adding the new section, and instead it just adds it into an existing section for the generated PRD. Now let's see if this fixes it. Okay, so it seems to have done something. So we're going to have to recreate the PRD calendar and to start writing our prompt in here. Please add an additional section called user feedback under, so in between um, just like overview and core features. Let's see if it can do this. Okay, so I'm quite happy with this for now. So again, we can add additional features such as the download feature. We can make it so users, after generating their requirements document, they can then download that as a docx or PDF file. So let's just enable that feature. The download button in the requirements document page should allow users to download the PRD as a PDF or Word document. So now it will give us three options to download either as text, PDF, or Word. And as you can see here, it includes the PRD inside the file or as a PDF. Let's see. And yep, that seems to be fine. There's always room for improvement, of course. However, for now, that's fine. Now we can test also the adding of sections with our AI assistant. So add a section like overview and core features, but this time the new section will be called user feedback. And let's see what it does. Okay, awesome. It looks like as if it has added that user feedback section right here in between overview and core features. So the next step would be to ensure that we have an authentication process in place. So essentially when new users sign up, they will then create an account. They'll be able to generate, or essentially use 3 free generations without the AI assistant. So this will be disabled, or we can limit it. And after those 3 free generations, a paywall will be introduced. So we will redirect them to the Stripe dashboard. And they can then decide whether they want to continue using the tool. That's a fee of $9 a month, or they can just leave it. So yeah, the next step would be to now when a user clicks on generate project requirements, ensure they create an account as soon as they click on the button, unless obviously they are already logged in. If they're not logged in, display a simple pop-up that asks for the user's details such as email and password to create an account or to log in if they have an existing account. And again, the reason we keep it simple for these very small MVPs is that we want to validate the idea instantly. So there's no point in overcomplicated or adding in more and more features if we do not know that there's actual demand for the actual product itself. Otherwise, you end up spending a lot of time and resources in building an MVP only to find out that there's no demand and nobody wants to use your tool, which is not what you want ideally. So let's just go ahead and create this table in Supabase. As you can see here, it's created a few SQL commands that it will then execute once we click on apply changes here. Okay, so it looks like it's created our profiles table. And you can see here it's created also different columns, an ID, a user ID, email, and when it was created and updated. So let's see what happens if we try to create a document when we are not logged in. However, before doing that, I do want to change this. So instead of text in the header, rewrite it to just login, which is just more simple. Okay, you can see here that it's now asking us to sign in or to create an account. However, I do want to have a confirmation password, so let's just do in sign up, or when users create an account for the first time, make sure they confirm their password. So insert password twice and it has to match. And then you can also ask it to have some requirements such as it has to include a capital letter or a number. But again, for this video, we'll just keep it very simple. So it's now added the confirmation password. So if we just do testing and testing, seems like it doesn't. Oh, yep, that's why. Okay, and so it's just creating an account right now. So if we refresh, oh, there we go. So we can see here a new record has been added to our table in the profiles table in Supabase. So yeah, the test@hotmail.com, and now it will give us access to the documents, requirements documents, as you can see. So let's log out. And what I want to do next is to inform the user that they will get 3 free generate project requirements. After that, we will introduce a paywall. So let's just make that clear. Let's just call it 3 free generations for the generate project requirements. And after that, they will have to pay $9 a month to continue using the features of the app. So introduce a Stripe paywall after the 3 free generations. Now, let's just go ahead and set up Stripe. So we can just skip this for now, and we'll just use the sandbox instead of the live account. So the sandbox will allow us to use the test API key to test transactions, and we're obviously we're not using real money here or real transactions. We're just using test payments. And it's just a way to test your payment system that you set up, and it's a good way also of testing refunds, and also there's this concept of, I think it's called test clocks, where essentially, let's say for example, a user will only start getting charged in 7 days' time. You can even use a test clock to forward that user to 7 days, and then to verify if the payment will get deducted in 7 days' time. So there's all these different cool features in the sandbox that you can use to test out how you set up your payment system. I mean, we can just ignore the setup guide for now and just go to here, developers at the bottom, and get your test API key. So there's going to be both a publishable and secret key. You'll know that they're test keys because they will have the word test after in the actual key values themselves, in the actual secrets. So pk underscore test and sk underscore test and sk underscore test, and then we just add these API keys here. So this will be your, although I think it might only be secrets for now. Let's see if that works. So it looks as if it's going to execute some SQL commands here. So it's mainly for tracking subscriptions, as it says here, and also to count the PRD generations, because we have that 3 free limit. Okay, let's test this out now. Ideally, if the user is logged in, which we'll do right now. Okay, that's not working. I've tried to log in, however, when clicking on login, it does not work. Okay, let's just try to log in now. And 3 free generations remaining. So let's just go ahead and generate a calendar. And also what we can do is disable the AI assistant chat feature, or really limit it to only 1 prompt per 1 generation. And because we don't want them overusing it, especially because it does consume tokens. So yeah, the AI assistant here, what we'll do now is we will limit it to 2 prompts per generation. So that means a total of 6 on the free trial. So again, that's another incentive for the user to then subscribe if they really do like the product. So let me just prompt that for users in the free generation trial. Let's just call it a trial period. Only allow them to use 2 prompts in the AI assistant once the PRD is generated for each of the 3 free generations. Therefore, a total of 6 prompts can be used to max per generation for the AI assistant during the free trial. Let's just specify that after the free trial, and if the user subscribes via Stripe, then and is a paid member. So we'll have a column in the Supabase table which does specify the plan they're on, whether it's free or paid. So essentially, we'll just look at the plan column, and if it's paid, then they will have unlimited usage of the AI assistant. And so it looks as if it's also going to start tracking the AI assistant usage when interacting with the generated requirements document. So let's just go ahead and execute that SQL command. Okay, cool. So it seems to have added those 2 prompts. And let's just see what happens if we say remove the core features section. That's been removed and 1 prompt is left, and remove the user flows section. Oh, I see. So this is because we used another prompt before. Yes. So we done both user flows section and core features section separately. So now it's asking, it's essentially introducing the paywall here. However, we want to test also that paywall is being introduced after 3 free generations. So let's just go ahead and test that. Oops, that is a mistake. So let's just go ahead and do calendar. And again, go back to generate, and let's just do calendar again. So there does seem to be an issue with the countdown. So, yep, so it's introducing the paywall at essentially when the free generations are up and expired. So let's just open the preview URL, calendar, click enter. Oh, because we have to sign in. Let's go ahead and sign in. So as you can see, we now we're not able to use the app. If we click on generate project requirements, nothing happens. So we are forced to upgrade to the Pro plan, which when clicking on this, it will redirect us to the Stripe paywall. And again here, as you saw previously, all you're doing is providing the Stripe API key and then telling the agent to set up a paywall in this exact moment. And since it's just a test sandbox, we can just provide the test card number, which is 4242 times 4 times. There we go. We'll just go ahead and enter a postcode and then click pay and subscribe. Cool. Then it just redirects to here, and it again gives us the option to create project requirements. Now let's just see in our Stripe sandbox if the actual transaction has succeeded. And yes, there we go, a payment of $9. And it should say here that this is a monthly plan, so that means they will get deducted every month. So this is the type of subscription here, and yes, you can see here Lovable has actually created the product just through us prompting the agent. So we didn't go in here or do anything. Lovable was capable of creating the product itself inside Stripe. And you saw that I did not set up anything in Stripe. It done this all by itself through the agent. And again, when we move over from our test sandbox to our live environment, we can then essentially copy this product and paste it over into our live product. And all we have to do is to start accepting real live payments, you move out of the sandbox. So you would just exit sandbox, and then you would end up in the live environment. You would then click on developers, get the API key of the live environment, which is different. the secret key and add it in your Supabase secrets here, and edge function secrets. So we just have to update this key here. So we just click add this key name here, and then the value, which is your secret live API key, add it in here, and then update that existing value. And then you may want to add a webhook so that once the payment succeeds, it then does a checkout session and redirects to your live domain. But again, that is a topic for another video that I could cover in more depth if you guys want me to. You can see here our subscriber is subscribed, true, and the tier is premium. However, for some reason, we're still not able to use, oh, there we go, yep. And this should then work in creator document. However, I think it'll be really cool to have an extra feature where maybe in the accounts here, we save each project that we create. So add another feature where for a specific user, you save the PRD projects the user has generated, so they can go back into a project at any time and also delete that project, or let's just call it that project requirement. So essentially we're just saving the project requirements that we have previously created, and then we can, if we want in the future, go back into them, re-edit the PRD or delete it altogether. And it might be that I'm curious to see where it actually adds this feature, if it just adds it as a page here or somewhere else. But let's just see what it does. Okay, so it seems to have added that extra feature, and let's just go ahead and do our project requirement for, again, a calendar. And it does seem that the new agent mode is really impressive, and it's almost as if it's nailing it on the first try, which is really incredible. So yeah, we can see here it's added a tab here for saved projects, editor. So if I can just go ahead and save project, our save project will end up here. So if I open it up, boom, it opens instantly. Yeah, this is a really big improvement since they've added this new agent, reasoning agent. It seems to really just get it at the first try, which is really impressive. So again, I'm quite happy with this so far. It's very MVP-ish. It's a MicroSaaS, and this is really all you need to validate an idea. You do not want to overcomplicate it, only for then to find out that there is no demand for this specific type of product. So the last thing, I guess, would be to actually deploy it live with your own domain name, and you can now do that just directly through Lovable by providing your domain name that you might have bought somewhere else on GoDaddy or Namecheap. So if you just go into settings, and you'll see here the domains page, and you can just click here, connect to domain, and there's even the option to buy a domain, but you can connect an existing domain here, and essentially what it'll do is you just type in your domain here, and it will then automatically transfer the DNS records over. So essentially you don't even have to transfer the DNS records over manually. It's all automated, and then you have so you're making changes in your app, and you have a live domain name. Make sure that you publish those changes so then they reflect the live web. Yeah, so that's it for today's tutorial. So hopefully you guys got some value out of this, and who knows, maybe you guys will try and recreate this yourself and
And then who knows, maybe you'll be able to improve it drastically and monetize it. That would be awesome. And it might even help you with your clients' work. But yeah, if you really like the video, just click the like button and subscribe, and comment down below what other topics you would like to see covered, and I'll try my best to do a video on those topics. But yeah, see you next time.